Welcome to my kitchen laboratory. I'm starting off simple today with something I make often and enjoy frequently. Just like science, cooking isn't always hard. That's why I'd like to talk about the humble grilled cheese sandwich. Ignoring the change in camera angle, I'm sure you're all familiar with the basic structure: bread, cheese, heat. It's deceptively simple and has hundreds of variations in millions of kitchens. However, even with all of those different approaches, everyone is still looking for that one thing that makes a grilled cheese a grilled cheese. And that's the melt. A good grilled cheese should be delightfully gooey, stringy, or any other adjective you want to use to describe that state between pure liquid and solid that's inside of a grilled cheese. Of course, we've all had an accidental issue with grilled cheese, slices not melting properly or cheese becoming a greasy mess. Why is that? I'm glad I implied you asked. It all comes down to the components of what makes up a cheese. Three major parts of milk have influence over what makes a cheese melty. First, we have the proteins. Most commonly, or at least for this discussion, these are caseins, which are part of the milk used in the creation of the cheese. Next up, we have the calcium. The calcium is the primary mineral in milk involved in cheese creation. Calcium in milk has a net negative charge. This keeps individual casein proteins from collecting together to form curds, the start of any dairy cheese. This allows the proteins to remain suspended in the milk when it's consumed as a liquid. The negative charge keeps everything neatly organized in tiny structures called micelles. So how do we remove the negative charge in order to allow the proteins to collect? Commonly by using an acid or an enzyme. Acids can either donate a proton or accept an electron from another molecule. That means the spare electron from the calcium can be absorbed and remove the negative charge from the calcium ion. Initially, an acid is added in order to start this process, but as it continues, the cheese itself has the fuel it needs to continue the process: lactose. Lactose as a sugar is broken down through the aging process into lactic acid. As more lactic acid is created, more of the negative charge is removed, and more of the proteins can come together. Of course, what does this mean when it comes to melting? Well, initially, the calcium acts as the structure between the proteins and keeps the structure of the micelle. This prevents them from collecting into neat little curds. Once the acid begins absorbing that negative charge, the proteins start to come together. When they do, they capture the fats and water present in the milk within their new curdy cocoons. The more acid present, the lower the pH, and the more the proteins come together. However, there's a balance point. I'm sure you've seen cheeses that don't melt too well. They come out with globs of fat and greasy streamers. This is what happens when the pH is too low. The proteins themselves lose that structure that binds the fats and water into neat little pockets and instead breaks apart when melted and releases the free fats and moisture. Likewise, if the pH is too high, the cheese won't seem to melt at all, since the calcium keeps the proteins from interacting. This is why different types of cheese can react differently between each type. A baby Swiss usually melts smoother than a sharper or aged cheddar. Of course, both of them, as you can see, attract the attention of my dog. The aging process creates more lactic acid and therefore removes more of the calcium bridges that give the proteins their structure. Regardless of your favorite form, even the humble grilled cheese can teach us the most important lesson. Cooking isn't magic, it's science.